We're just an hour away from a crucial update on U.S. military operations in Iran from the Secretary of War and the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff as we enter day 5 of Operation Epic Fury.
Our chief foreign correspondent, Trey Yingst, is live on the ground in Israel and Tel Aviv with the breaking news out of Turkey. Trey.
Yeah, guys, this is breaking news. Turkey's Ministry of Defense says that an Iranian ballistic missile was launched toward their country, and it was shot down by NATO air defense systems, fragments of that missile landing in southern Turkey. This is a major development and the first time that a country like Turkey has received incoming Iranian ballistic missile fire. This comes as the Israelis are going after more of those launching positions inside of Iran. We also have some new video of strikes against the Iranian capital of Tehran. It's been a lot of back and forth. Alerts went out on the phone here this morning after an 8-hour lull in launches, and actually we're getting sirens right now, and I'm not sure where this missile is coming from. It may not be Iran, it could be Lebanon. Let's get off the sticks here just to prepare. The reason I'm not sure if it's from Iran is because we just got a notification from the Army that people could leave bomb shelters, and these sirens just started to sound at the last minute, and so we'll have to see where this incoming fire is coming from. But just to give you a sense of what's happening here, this is a conflict that is expanding regionally, and this information that we're getting from the Turkish Defense Ministry indicates that the Iranians are launching more of their long-range ballistic missiles, and they do have thousands of them in their arsenal, 2,000 to 3,000 just before this conflict began, along with many short-range missiles that they've been launching at Gulf countries like Qatar, Bahrain, and the UAE. But again, right now, sirens are sounding across central Israel. And I just want to come with me here, Yaniv, if you could go to the road here. You can see under this bridge in the distance, people have gotten out of their cars, and they are now sheltering under a bridge on the side of the road. Stay with me here. We're going to pan up to the sky, and you see 2 interceptor rounds. And right there to the left, Yaniv, and you see another interception round coming up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Another one coming up from the sea. This is a large-scale attack that is happening right now. I'm going to move this so you can get out here to the balcony, Yaniv. Stay with me here, guys. And out to the center above these buildings to your left, Yaniv. Pan to the left. And so a large attack again, and you can hear those explosions now ringing out throughout Tel Aviv. Just stay with me here. I'm going to get a helmet on. I'm listening to you. Massive explosions right now.
You know what system that would be to knock out a long-range missile? Is it the Arrow, David Sling? Is it the Iron Dome?
Yeah, that would probably be Israel's Arrow 2 or 3 systems. And I can still hear sirens sounding in the distance. We're going to try to get an understanding of where this launch came from. It is possible this was still from an Iranian barrage that was launched a bit earlier. My producers are going to check right now. But you can hear those explosions. That was a lot of air defense going off at the same time from multiple different directions around Tel Aviv. And again, an alert had just gone out from the Army telling people they could leave bomb shelters, and you saw those people behind me that were sheltering underneath that bridge. This is really the reality here for the Israeli people as this conflict continues. We have this gear on and a helmet we have seen in the past when these missiles get intercepted overhead, large fragments of the missile falling to the ground below. And yesterday, the Iranians launched a ballistic missile with a cluster warhead on top. It broke apart on the outskirts of Tel Aviv. And when we arrived at one of the scenes in a community called Bnei Brak, just outside of the city, you could see how one of these missile fragments flew through the side of a building. And so it's an incredibly dangerous moment for the Israeli people. And we should also note the Iranians are reducing the amount of missiles they're launching because the Americans and the Israelis are hitting these launching positions so frequently, they're not able to get off these large barrages. And again, I'm just going to check my phone here and see if we have any information on where these launches
Trey,
came
real
from.
Quick, what made you think that it could have possibly come from Lebanon?
And so Israeli media is reporting right now, and I don't have an individual source on it, so we're going to cite it to Israeli media. They're reporting that there was a joint attack from Iran and Lebanon at the same time. And so Iran using its proxy in southern Lebanon, Hezbollah, to launch a missile a long-range missile toward Israel as they were launching ballistic missiles. And again, this is done to try to overwhelm Israel's air defense systems. A little bit of information for you on Hezbollah. Israeli intelligence sources tell Fox News the organization still has 11 to 12,000 missiles and rockets that they can use to launch toward Israeli cities. And the Israelis are also concerned about the possibility that these Hezbollah ground forces could try to push into northern Israel. And that is why we understand, according to the IDF, Israeli troops are now in southern Lebanon. And just this morning, before we got on air, they issued an evacuation order to Lebanese civilians south of the Litani River to get out of harm's way, understanding that this conflict is now expanding north. And the Israelis, we have some video of it, have been striking the Lebanese capital of Beirut overnight and this morning, hitting the Dakhya neighborhood just south of Beirut, where Hezbollah is coordinating these current attacks that you're watching now against Israel.
Wow. So what happens when we're watching the interception and they shoot down, let's say it's a ballistic missile? You mentioned that some of the fragments, they fell and went into a building. So you could actually miss being hit, obviously, by the missile, but then when they blow it up in the air, the fragments fall down and that could hit individuals or houses down on the ground, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we're getting some more information, and I'm going to get it to you as our team here is texting sources to determine if there were any impacts or injuries as a result. But when these missiles are intercepted, oftentimes the air defense systems do get overwhelmed. And that's why we've seen these impacts in different areas of Israel. At least 10 people have been killed by Iranian ballistic missiles since this conflict began. And now the Israeli military is confirming those reports. That was a combined attack that you just saw from Iran and Hezbollah at the same time. But when these missiles do slip past air defense, they can cause a massive amount of damage. We were at one scene here in Tel Aviv where a woman was killed. And when we arrived, there was so much destruction that for blocks you could see damage to buildings. And as we arrived at that scene, more missiles were coming in, and the first responders had to leave the building where they were putting out the fire and head underground with civilians. And oftentimes, like you saw just there, we did not expect that attack to happen at that moment. People who are on the expressway or driving or out in the streets, they have to pull off, they have to get to hard cover and watch out for those fragments because these missiles are so large. We've actually seen some that fell in the desert during the 12-day war last year, and they're the size of a school bus when they're flying through the air. And so you can imagine, even with these advanced interceptor rounds that the Israelis have, the Arrow 2 and 3 systems, and the American Patriot and THAAD missile defense systems, even if they are intercepted, they can kill you if they land on the ground in Israel.
Hey, Trey, I get the sense that the Israelis are not upset that Hezbollah rocketed them. They wanted to finish the job. They know that Hezbollah was reconstituting, making more rockets. The IRGC had come in to help build up their hierarchy again. So do you sense among those in the IDF that and Israeli government that they wanted this opportunity to finish the job and Hezbollah just gave them that opportunity?
Absolutely. The Israelis were at war with Hezbollah for more than a year and a half. They got involved in the fight after Israel and Hamas went to war inside Gaza following the October 7th terrorist attack that triggered that conflict. We can still hear explosions in the distance here, and there are sirens sounding in southern Israel. This appears to be somewhat of a coordinated attack by the Iranian regime and also Hezbollah. In terms of the Hezbollah leadership, you have Hassan Nasrallah, the man who was killed in an Israeli strike in the Dakhya neighborhood of southern Beirut. And immediately Hezbollah appointed a successor, Naim Qassem. And this is another hardliner in Hezbollah, a man who has good contacts with the Iranian regime. He was responsible for a lot of the smuggling operations to bring in missiles, drones, and components into southern Lebanon to prepare for a battle against Israel. But Hezbollah still has these pockets, not only in southern Lebanon and in the south of Beirut in the Dakhya neighborhood, but also in the northern part of Lebanon, in the Bekaa Valley. And so they've been digging in for a number of decades to prepare for this conflict. And the Israelis were waiting for this opportunity to get involved in the fight again against them because they realized that once the Iranian regime is suppressed as a result of this operation that was launched by President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, the threat to the north will still remain. And when they have these arsenals, it does pose a significant threat to the Israeli people. One thing that we should note here that was interesting this week, the Lebanese Prime Minister has had a total change in tune. As a result of the Trump administration efforts to stabilize the northern border between Israel and Lebanon, you've had Morgan Ortagus and Tom Barak and others from the Trump administration go to Lebanon and send a message to the government saying this will not be tolerated. There must be a ceasefire. And you actually heard earlier this week the Lebanese prime minister telling the Iran-backed militant group in Lebanon, Hezbollah, to stop, to stand down. And they haven't. They're fighting right now. You can hear those sirens behind me, likely going to any sort of falls or fragment sites here in Israel. But this is a significant development. And even again, as we are talking right now, I can see in Ashkelon, this is actually close to the Gaza border, there are sirens sounding in northern Ashkelon. Ashkelon's a city of just about a few miles away from the Gaza Strip. Again, we don't know why those sirens are sounding. I can't talk with sources while we're here on air. But right now, this is a significant attack, and it comes after an 8-hour lull in Iranian launches because, again, the Americans and the Israelis are doing everything they can to neutralize that ballistic missile threat, and they've been quite successful so far.
Right. And so you don't think that Hamas is sending rockets in, but that's a possibility? They're capable of doing that?
The threat from Gaza has been greatly reduced. Hamas still has some rockets and mortars in their arsenal, specifically in the Deir al-Balah neighborhood of central Gaza. But the reality is the war in Gaza is a secondary, if not even further down the line, for the Israeli people and for the Israeli military. There have not been any reports of airstrikes in Gaza over the past several days. The focus has largely been on the northern border with Hezbollah and, of course, the Iranian regime. The Israelis are using much of their air power, actually the most in the country's history, to hammer the Iranian regime. And so Gaza is sort of an afterthought for the Israeli military. One interesting thing that we learned earlier today, and a military source is telling me that they believe they're going to have video of this. For the first time in 40 years, the Israelis shot down in a dogfight over Tehran an Iranian jet. They used an F-35 fighter jet to do that. And we're also just getting another update following that last barrage. First responders say they are responding to several scenes. We don't know if these are direct impacts or fragment falls. But again, there is a concerted effort here in Israel to place first responders throughout the city. You see them in different areas, even at night when it looks like a ghost town here in Israel's second largest city of Tel Aviv. The first responders are out, and I've been talking with the Israeli police. They say this is done so that they can get to these scenes very quickly, and if people are killed or wounded, they can start providing care.
Copy that, Trey. We're going to let you go so you can work the phones with some of your sources. Stay safe.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.